Hi, this is Erich Stromquist. Welcome to Control Talk Now for the week ending March 1st, 2015. If you're looking behind my shoulder, you're noticing I'm not in my studio right now, or I'm doing something really cool with the green screen. Well, let me give you a hint. It's not the green screen. More about that later. But before I get to that, let me introduce the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, the snowman from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Kenny Smyers. Kenny, we're not in Kansas anymore. How you doing, buddy?
Very good. Nice wintry weather here in Pittsburgh again. We got about 3 inches over the night, and we're supposed to get 4 during the day. So, Mr. Winter, go away. It's time to go play golf.
Away.
I want to do what you're doing out there in Arizona, golfing. Tell us about the meeting you're at.
Well, absolutely. I'm at an awards trip from Honeywell through CG&A Controls Group North America, which is a group we talk about on the show a lot. It's about 35 of the top distributors in the world that band together to try to produce great results. So 2 things. First of all, let me thank the customers of Stromquist and Company, who by buying from us made this trip possible. So we really do appreciate that, and also really appreciate Honeywell. They invited us to come out for the weekend. We're here in Phoenix, Arizona. Behind me, over my shoulder here, you might be able to see Camelback Mountain. So it's a beautiful part of the world. We're staying at a very nice hotel. I got to tell you, Honeywell, Kenny really knows how to show appreciation to their customers. So I want to thank the folks at Honeywell for a great time as well. But needless to say, Kenny, it's going to be a little bit of a shorter show today. I got to catch a plane in about an hour. So wanted to get this in this week. So I tell you what, Big Dog, let's get straight to it. What was our first post last week?
Well, our first post, Eric, is actually something that we were unable to relate to the Control Trends community, and that was the Johnson Controls Championship Season 2015. They take a baseball theme, spring training, but it's to join the 2015 ABCS Distribution and Business Conference that's going to be held at the Marriott Orlando World Center, March 22nd through the 24th, again in Orlando, Florida. So to our Control Trends viewers, we didn't have that at our fingertips last show, so that's a catch-up there. And then moving on to our first post, we have installing the Siemens SSA valve actuator to a 599 series valve body. And basically, it's just a short how-to thing. It tells you what tools you need. It tells you the steps you need to take to correctly mount it. But there's a lot of good things happening in the world of hydronics, and Siemens has a great series too that features the plastic housing, lock-proof, maintenance-free gear train, manual override with a socket wrench, so that you can basically manually control the actuator, open the valve or close it. So it's just a great little product. And again, you're hip to the videos now are becoming more prevalent for people getting ready service calls or sales tools. But what's your thoughts about the video world?
Well, I think the video world is changing. Congratulations to Siemens. That's a very, very well done video. I think more and more of the manufacturers, Kenny, are creating their own how-to videos. I think it's the go-to way for people to get informed. I mean, the days of pulling out a spec sheet or an instruction sheet, trying to read through those and figure out how that gets done. I think the newer generation of technicians that are coming into the marketplace just don't do that anymore. Why would you do that when you can look at a short 2 to 3 minute video, see exactly how you need to get it done? Kenny, we love the fact that the manufacturers are starting to create these videos, because it means we don't have to. And Control Trends has been committed since day one to being a repository of how-to videos, among other things. So it's great for us. Our commitment to the community is we will post as many of those videos as we can, so you can be our first place to link to these videos from great companies like Siemens. So again, congratulations to Siemens. Keep those videos coming. And to any other manufacturers that have training videos, let us know. We'll post them. If we don't find them automatically, through the course of sort of culling through all the videos we do every week on YouTube, just let us know. We'll make sure we post them.
Yeah, there's 2 things to say on that right away. Is Ken Sinclair believes that you're going to have self-taught people now, that the world's going to have to take different educational ways and different ways to learn and do things, and how we're going to pass on knowledge. And one of them is you're going to learn exactly what you need to know. You're not going to go to an A to Z education. You're going to go right to B, and you're going to know what you need to know, and the video content will be that's very conducive to that. Secondly, was Realcomm had an interesting webinar about the World Trade Center. And to just talk about the collaboration and whatever, everything requires a QR code. Now, this QR code, you'll come up to it. So if you're a maintenance guy, they want to keep their people outside of the maintenance room and in the building, in the space, checking on things. So they give
Right.
them those handy tools, totally connected, right? But you go up to a QR code and you beam it with your little iPhone or your Android, and it tells you exactly what's going on. It tells you, of course, all the product information, anything you need to know about the elevators, the last time they were serviced, when the inspections due, because the information's live,
Yes.
now it's accessible. So it's just an incredible concept, and it's going to just keep on hitting it into our worlds and changing it.
Well, it is, Kenny, and I don't know whether you've seen, DG Logic, Eugene Mazzo and his team, they actually have that on their graphics. So if you're not there at the device with the QR code, you can actually embed QR codes into their graphics. So again, same sort of thing. You can just click on it or touch a smart device to it and get all the information. You can link to things like Control Trends videos on that. So again, the life of a technician is going to become, they're going to have to be able to deal with more things, more controls, but by the same token, more information is going to be right there at their fingertips. So it's an exciting time, Kenny. It really is that we're living in. And this just isn't true for our industry. Do you know that you can go and most of the universities now actually broadcast or live stream all of their classes, and I've been told that you can actually go through and take every course at Harvard online. I mean, you can view it. You're not going to get the sheepskin for it. You're not going to be able to get tested, but you can see the same information that they have access to because it's being broadcast on the internet. So there's really no excuse for anybody to ever not be educated again, especially in these times. So it's exciting times, Kenny. And again, at Control Trends, I think we're trying to stay right in the middle of that for our industry. We want to be the place you're able to go and get the information you need. I think the first slogan we had was Control Trends, Control News, you can use, and we want to live up to that.
Very well said. Next up, Eric, we have Jim O'Callahan, the president of EnOcean, kind of concluding part 6 of the Connected Community Collaboratory. And of course, that's Ken Sinclair's efforts. And you talk about autodidacticism, where you self-teach yourself. If you can access these videos, you're getting these most condensed overviews of what a person does. And Jim shares us what's going on with EnOcean and about low-powered sensors and about battery-free. I mean, we're going to see another technology come in and make its place, entrench itself very firmly in the industries that we're in, and we got to know how to deal with it. We got to know how to connect to it. We got to know how to take that information and make it usable. And so right now we see 70 million sensors deployed. By the year 2020, they're talking about 100 billion sensors that take that information out there on the edge, make them smart, and push them into the networks for processing, for aggregation, and statuses and whatever. So every light now, everything's going to have a sensor to it.
It's incredible, Kenny. Our world is changing. One of my teachers, Marshall Thurber, used to say that there are two types of change. We've talked about this on the show before. There's cyclical change, which is like the stock market. It's going to go up, it's going to go down. The ties are going to get skinnier, they're going to get fatter, and those are all cycles. So your strategy in a cyclical change is you just wait for the cycle to change, or you get on board with the cycle. The other kind of change is a structural change. A structural change basically was once Henry Ford came out with the car, it didn't matter how good your horse and buggy was, you were eventually going to lose. Same thing when the computer came out, the typewriter was it was on its way out. So if you recognize a structural change, your only choice with a structural change is to embrace it or you die. My question for you, Kenny Smyers, and my question for the Control Trends community is wireless sensors and technology. Is this going to be a structural change?
Well, it already is, Eric. I mean, again, though, it happens, and we understand things, but power is never going to go away, so you're never really going to live in a totally wireless world. What's going to happen is you're going to have this disruptive technology come in through the household. You can see, like you were talking about, your connected lights. That's all done wirelessly. People don't understand when you're saying wireless, you're talking about the remote control on your TV, your garage door opener. So, I mean, wireless has been part of our world for a long time, but how it's becoming, once you get a router into a house now, once you get that network in there, all these other devices and applications can take advantage of that in-place technology, and that's what you're seeing in the exploitation. So just imagine that happened to a building now, or happening to a campus wide. We have distributed environments with multiple buildings, and everything can talk to something that needs to know what is going on, like am I on, off, or do global commands, shut everything off, so when you leave, you know that every single electrical load has been put to the place where it's supposed to be. All the coffee pots are off. So right. I think this it's definitely a structural change. But I want to make one thing clear, because we don't want to upset our tradespeople. The adoption of this thing will never remove them. I think the best way to put it is a hybrid solution. You're always going to have power to the building, and it has to be wired. So even the wireless components and devices are going to take maybe the forefront, and they'll make all the attention. Behind that's power. Behind that's qualified people putting in electrical systems to support and provide the power to things. Now, EnOcean taking the powerless, wireless component, that's just going to mean like all your hospitality suites, all your different types where you have low band, low power transmissions, not data streams where you have packets where it takes a lot of bandwidth. You're just saying I'm on, off, turn on, turn off, so they can do that. And so I think you're going to see just a rapid adoption of that. Yes.
I think we will. And I think the other thing that's going to be good for our industry is I think it's going to make control systems more competitive, because if you're not having to run as much wire on some jobs, you'll make up for it. But the tradespeople are always going to be a necessary component. But Kenny, if you start thinking about the fact that we're already seeing some of this, I think all of us will be wearing some sort of a wearable technology that will be monitoring our blood pressure, our blood sugar, everything. I mean, I think about the opportunity if all of a sudden your blood pressure gets high, you're in danger of a heart attack or a stroke, you're alerted, and there's probably an ambulance dispatched to where you're at. All that's going to happen seamlessly. And as we've talked about, that's really, really cool stuff. But then we're probably going to give up some personal freedoms and some privacy issues. Whole other topic we can talk about. But needless to say, let's cycle back around to Ken Sinclair, AutomatedBuildings.com, and the CCC. He put together 5 of the most incredible speakers that were talking about a range of topics that affect all of us. And Jim O'Callahan was phenomenal what he had to say, Kenny. But we got 5 different speakers that Ken Sinclair put together. You can see that on Control Trends. I encourage you to go to Ken Sinclair. The March issue of AutomatedBuildings.com, I think, has hit the streets. Check that out. Ken can give you a lot more information on that. But the speakers from Andy McMillan, the president of BACnet, Jim O'Callahan, I think he's the president of EnOcean, our friend Mark Peacock, LinkSpring, John Petsy, Sky Foundry, and last but not least, Paul Oswalt, ESI. You had 5 unique perspectives. Ken, I just got to compliment Ken Sinclair. I mean, what a phenomenal event. I think it was the 2nd or 3rd one he's done. Next year at AHR in Orlando, you want to make sure you reach out to Ken and try to attend that. It is so, I mean, it was like being in front of a fire hose with this information and these perspectives. And nobody repeated themselves. It was such an interesting thing because they all had a different perspective on what's going on.
Sure did. And there's one more post coming up that we'll save it because after those presentations, there was a great Q&A session.
Yeah.
And one of the most important topics, and that is passing the baton back to the next generation. How do we get the next generation interested in our industry? How do we as Paul Oswald says, we're losing a lot of the tribal knowledge,
Yeah.
So we'll come back to the CCC one more time before the show's out. The next post was a smartgrid.gov post. Increased visibility to the grid is happening. Read how, voices of experienced ADMS. And I'll tell you what, this was a rocker because they say consider the cost of a power outage in the United States. The U.S. Energy Information Administration estimates that the $150 billion in annual economic losses because of outages is equivalent to adding 4 cents per kilowatt of cost to the consumers nationwide. So there's a big movement, and they're making progress now to prevent the dumb grid. And in other words, the same thing we're trying to do inside of buildings, our country's trying to do with its power generation, its power distribution, and when emergencies happen, you've got to have things to say. I've lost current here, whatever. It's remarkable. And then what happens is the voices of engineered insights into the advanced distribution management system actually goes into the graphical presentation of how our smart grid works. And it's an amazing thing because we've got 2,000 utility companies, and only some of them are, the information here is amazing. But I don't want to just read it directly. Hopefully the Control Trends folks will have enough time to see it. But you've got maybe 40 people and 30 utilities represented in organizations throughout America participated in this thing. But the actual number is it's amazing. It's 2,000 utility companies generating electricity, and they're looking for guidance and guidelines. Well, here it is. So finally, it's released to us. We can, what they do is they challenge you. So if you're an entrepreneur, you're a business, you're a company, you need to come up with new products. You need to integrate and interface with this new technology. They lay out the standards for you, so you can meet that thing at its requirement, and contribute into the development of the smart grid and actually become enriched by it.
That's cool stuff, and I would say, Kenny, that the smart grid is definitely a structural change. I think once they get this in place, they are not going back.
Oh, no. Well, the thing is, Eric, we're not going to build any more power plants, and we're not going to. We can't afford to maintain these peakers that cost us 30% of our costs just to back up. In case we have a catastrophic loss, we have to maintain these peaker plants. They only run for like 10% of the year. And it's just to kind of like it's like a standby thing. So they want to reduce the urgency and the emergencies. But what they're saying is that when you have major power outages, there's ways that they can deal with it that can really reduce the number of the discomforts, not only the human discomfort factor with no electricity for 4 or 5 days, but and it's great too because they have like questions. You can actually go on there. They have surveys and then little tests to see how much you know about electricity. But where the biggest outage was in Brazil. How long did it last? How many people? 87 million people were affected for 5 days. So it just shows you that there's a lot of information about what we take for granted. But now we're having snow here. We've had outages here in western Pennsylvania because of the weather conditions. Yeah. Whether it's somebody sliding on the street and hit into a telephone pole that knocks down something, or crashes into something. But it's just a fascinating thing. I mean, if you really are interested, this is the document, the cardinal document or the source document about the smart grid.
Way to go, Kenny. And I tell you what, the U.S. government, I think, is taking to calling you Kenny Smart Grid Smyers because you really do a great job of keeping everybody up to speed on that. And I appreciate it, buddy. All right, let's roll. And listen, I'm going to apologize in advance for the quality of this. Again, I'm in a hotel where, like I said earlier, we're on a iffy internet line. And you probably will hear people going by out in the hallway making noise. So apologize for that. The quality is not what it should be. We'll get back to that next week. All right, Kenny, what do we have up next?
All right, Eric, next up we have Johnson Controls Global Workplace Solutions delivering world-class quality with lower cost. And this was a kind of really neat post because it was international. In fact, Guy Holden, Vice President and General Manager of Johnson Controls Global Workplace Solutions Europe, Middle East, and Africa, discusses how the facility management industry is responding to the demands for improved quality at reduced costs. So it's just a really interesting video because it shows you it's not all about us, about the United States and North America. I mean, this is globally how the industry is changing and how a major player, a major manufacturer of solutions like Johnson is dealing with it.
Yeah, good stuff. Congratulations to Johnson. And again, you mentioned earlier, Kenny, about the Johnson conference. Unfortunately, we won't be able to be there. My wife's expecting, but I think it's going to be a fantastic conference. We've got some of our folks going down there. Our Rob Allen will actually be in the field at that Johnson ABCS conference, so we'll bring you some stuff. But we were there last year. It was fantastic. I think it's going to be even better this year. So Orlando in March, not a bad place to be. All right, nope. Kenny, what do we have up next, big dog?
All right, next up, Eric, we have Functional Devices introduces a new Wi-Fi rib product.
Cool product, yep.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, and again, so we're talking about the structural change. Well, here's just more manufacturers have to get into the game, and they're doing so by picking their sweet spot, doing what they do well, which is on and off control on a network. But now you have another option. So Functional Devices was famous for bringing a backnet solution or a LAN solution. By if you missed a device somewhere and your controller's maxed out, you can put a RIB on your network, discover it, and then use it in your sequence of operations. So at Functional Devices, the Internet of Things is happening today. Functional Devices is proud to announce and introduce its Wi-Fi rib products. So Functional Devices ribs are the I/O devices for the next wireless generation of building automation and energy management systems. You can turn your devices off and on wirelessly and monitor your network remotely. And they got a nice user manual that gives you the background to the things. I mean, wireless is, even though we take it for granted, whatever, there's a lot of challenges there. It's not a panacea. It won't do everything for all applications, but certain applications it does very well.
Yeah, you got to apply it correctly. You're right about that. And congratulations to people at Functional Devices. Talk about an innovative company. These guys continue to amaze with their innovations. I mean, obviously the rib was one of the most revolutionary, innovative products. It's a little relay in a box for our listeners who might not know. When it first came out, Kenny, it changed the game, didn't it?
It sure did. And there's other. You have IDAC. You have a few other very very compact providers of plug-in relays and sockets, because basically you want to know if the light tells you if your load's on or off, or you got power to the terminals, and that's a great troubleshooter. In fact, the contractors that I know, they specify, or they put an RIB outside of any load so they can ask the user, is the light on at the relay? Because if they do, then they know the problem's somewhere else. Or it's not the power to the device; it's somewhere in the program or something. So,
nice.
Yep, sound like toilet paper, Eric.
All right. What do we have up next, Kenny?
Well, next up is a really good post, and you need to kind of you were there, so you can tell me more about it. But basically, we had Rob Allen's 7 Minutes in Control with Erich Kreuter from KMC, and KMC. C is becoming kind of a play on the consonant and the concept. I know that there's a lot of interesting going on at KMC, and I know that they're trying to take the labor out of jobs. They're applying advanced technology, and they really and truly are excited about this thing. It's like a sequel to that Simply VAV, which won the VAV Controller of the Year. So why don't you tell us about what the Rob Allen 7 Minutes of Control were, but more importantly, what are those C's all about?
Okay. Well, Kenny, a couple things. First of all, KMC came in. They brought their whole team down, from the CEO down. They came down to our live training center. We streamed out several videos. We recorded a lot of videos. So we have a very long video where all their executives are presenting their different products. And they did sort of encapsulated all around the 5 C's. And I'm not going to go into those today because Rob Allen 7 Minutes of Controls was kind of an overview of that. They actually forgot one of the C's, but you can check that out. But a couple of things that they're doing, Kenny, that I want to talk about now, and then we'll roll the rest of it out probably next week. As you know, the Simply VAV control, we call it the Everyman's VAV control because you don't even need a computer to set it up. It's very easy to set up. So one of the things that we encourage our service contractors to do is if they got to replace a pneumatic VAV velocity reset controller, the Simply VAV control makes a very easy solution to do that. Now the cool thing they have is they've incorporated technology called near field communication in it. So basically what you can do, Kenny, you can take your smartphone, you can download, like if you have a multiple job, let's say 100 VAV boxes, you can download the different programs, or if they're all the program, it's like the same program for 0 to 100 boxes. You can download that into a smartphone app. Kenny, you can basically just hold that in front of the box. It doesn't even have to be out of the box. The VAV controller doesn't even have to be powered. So the box, you can just hold it near there. It'll load the program into the controller before you even take it out of the box and put power on it. So it knows that this one's, if you touch it to the first one, it'll make it VAV unit 100, 101, 102, 103. So I think that's going to be a game changer in terms of ease of use. And again, bringing the digital world to people that are still doing pneumatics because they think if they do a DDC controller, they have to have a computer, they have to be able to do complicated programs. You don't anymore. So KMC is really dialed into that. The second big thing they have coming, Kenny, is they have an interface device that will allow you to network controllers together, and their price point on this, Kenny, is such that they really believe that they're targeting, I think they said there are like 7 million buildings in the U.S. that do not have any form of energy management in them now. Most of them are very small buildings where the cost of doing such would just not make sense. And they basically got a deal now that is so low cost and so energy savings rich that they are able, that a lot of their integrators are saying that their strategy for this is going to be, hey, we'll go to an end user at maybe a convenience store or something even smaller and say, hey, we'll put this system in this for you for free. You'll save energy on it, and all we want in return is a 3 or 4 year service contract. So that could be a game changer. You're talking about a system that will allow them to go in and use the system as a way to sell service contracts. So I think we're going to really see a lot opening up. We've talked in the past about the race to the small space, Kenny. I think KMC just came in with a very, very strong entry into the race to the small space. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. And they've got more stuff coming. So again, I encourage you, hopefully Mike Bonner will have that video ready to go next week on control trends. But you can get a taste of it with Rob Allen's 7 Minutes in Control as he talks to Erich Kreuter, the grandson of the founder of Kreuter Controls.
All right, looking forward to it. And again, they've been around for a long time, great American company in the breadbasket of America, and they were kings of the pneumatic for a while, weren't they?
Oh, they still are. They still are.
are.
I mean, if you've got a VAV controller that has pneumatics on it, there's about a 99.8% chance they just got a KMC pneumatic controller. It might have somebody else's label on it, but most likely KMC made it.
All right, next up we have an interesting announcement from Belimo. Lars van der Haegen to become the new CEO of the Belimo Group. Now this is a big promotion because Lars was he was the director, or he was the, he was CEO, president of Belimo Americas, and member of the executive community since 2010. So he's been running the American show, and he oversaw the new transition to Belimo's new facility on Mount Belimo up there. And he's replacing the gentleman, Dr. Joch Sanchez. I hope I didn't foul that up too bad. Joch Sanchez, a CEO. He will leave the company at the end of September 2015, and Lars will step in behind him. And Lars has got a heck of a background. He's got a heck of a career. My gosh, he's been working for Belimo since 2000. He's a very strong in HVAC applications and industry knowledge, paired with master's degrees from Columbia Business School in New York and London Business School. So I mean, he's a global super executive, and he's probably going to take Belimo to the next level in years to come. So congratulations.
Couldn't be happier for Lars. Lars, and on top of that, Kenny is just a super nice guy. I've had the opportunity to meet Lars a couple of times, I think as you have too. Very personable, very likable. Maryland, I think when we did the 2013 Control Trends Awards and we had the executives on stage, I think I think Maryland's favorite. It was close between Eugene Mazzo, Mike Marston, and Lars. Suave is a word that comes to mind. He is just a very sharp guy, and very happy for Lars. So Lars, congratulations. Belimo continues to move onward and upward. What do we have up next, Kenny?
All right, next up, Eric, was a post I kind of hinted to there earlier. The 2015 Connected Community Collaboratory finishes with a strong summary and question and answer, and the promise of a greater meeting to come in the year 2015, or 2016. Our Control Trends is always a year back because we do the year in review. AHR is always a year upcoming. So in 2016, they're planning a big, again, rendezvous of all the minds. Ken Sinclair will have a great training presentation. But this was where these great minds shared their thoughts on our industry, and then it opened up the floor, opened up to questions and answers. And which we had Therese Sullivan made some comments. Mr. Dolly,
Mike Salvador Dolly,
from
Controls,
from, Network Control Solutions.
England,
and then there was a gentleman there was a contractor, and he didn't want to mess around with all these talk. So he thinks, what do you say, DDC was a glorified time clock. He just wanted the information, so he got and sell this because he was convinced at that meeting that lighting, he had to relook lighting, and he wanted the 411 on lighting at the meeting.
Yeah.
So they answered him too. Go on the websites and start to work for it a little bit, and you'll find it. But what was the most profound question in your mind?
Well, I think the one that the young lady asked Andy McMillan, Andy McMillan, the president of BACnet, sort of what advice they could give to young people to get educated and stay on top of all the changes, and how did they stay on top of all the changes. It was a very profound answer, and Kenny, I'm probably going to just chop that up and have that be its own segment. I just hadn't had a chance to get to it yet, but I think one of the keys he gave, one of the great quotes probably of all time in our industry was, "You have to be eternally optimistic for no reason at all." So
and insatiably curious.
And insatiably curious. Yep,
those are two things. Yeah.
So really well done. Again, I can't say it enough. Congratulations to Ken Sinclair, AutomatedBuildings.com, for putting this together. I think he's going to talk a lot about it in the March issue of AutomatedBuildings.com, which I think is on the streets today. So be sure to check that out, and be sure to check the videos out on Control Trends. It was a great event. So Kenny Smyers, I think that wraps it up. I got a plane to catch, so I'm going to be heading back to Atlanta, and we're going to be heading back to the snow. And, so again, as always, thanks to all of our listeners. We appreciate you. Thanks to the man, the myth, the legend, Kenny Smyers. I hope you guys all have a great week, and remember, stay in control.
Indeed, Eric.
Indeed, Kenny Smyers.